I remember the day I made the decision as if it were yesterday. My heart was beating so fast that I could almost hear the sound echoing in my chest, and my hands wouldn't stop trembling. I was standing in front of the mirror, staring at a woman who had dreams as tall as mountains but also fears that could sink her to the bottom of the ocean. I had always imagined myself building a career, traveling the world, proving to everyone that I was capable of achieving something big. But life doesn't ask for your permission before changing your path. Life simply places choices in front of you and waits for you to decide. And that morning, I looked at myself, at the tired eyes reflecting back, and I whispered, "Family first." It was the most terrifying and liberating decision I ever made, walking away from a promising career to dedicate myself to something that promised no applause, no titles, no recognition, yet carried the weight of love beyond measure. At first, people didn't understand. My colleagues told me I was crazy. They reminded me of how hard I had worked to get where I was, of the hours spent studying, the sacrifices I had already made to open the doors that were finally swinging wide open for me. "Why would you throw it all away?" they asked. And I had no answer that could make sense to them. How could I explain that my soul found more value in being present for my family than in signing contracts, earning promotions, or climbing ladders that didn't feel like mine anymore? How could I explain that I wanted to give my daughter something that no salary could ever buy, my time, my guidance, my presence? Deep inside, I feared I would regret it. I feared that years later, I would look back and wonder what could have been. But somehow, I also felt that by choosing them, I was choosing a story that only love could write. The days turned into months, and the months into years. My career dreams slowly faded into the background, like an old song I once knew by heart but no longer sang. In their place, a new rhythm began, the rhythm of family life. It was waking up before dawn to prepare breakfast, holding my daughter's hand as we walked to school, staying up late to help with homework I sometimes didn't even understand. It was learning to find joy in the little things, like watching her draw on the kitchen table, or listening to her laugh as if the world itself had nothing heavy in it. There were hard days, of course. Days when bills piled up and I silently wondered if I had made the right choice. Days when exhaustion made me want to disappear, even if just for a moment. But then she would look at me with those big, curious eyes, and I would remember, this was the purpose I had chosen. She was always different, my daughter. Even as a little girl, she carried inside her a spark that made her shine in ways I could never explain. She was curious about everything, always asking questions that went far beyond her age. While other children played with dolls, she was asking me why people got sick, how the body healed itself, and why doctors could sometimes perform miracles. I didn't realize it at the time, but those questions were the seeds of a dream that was already growing in her heart. I would watch her pretending to heal her toys, wrapping them in makeshift bandages, and declaring proudly, "Don't worry, Mama, I'm going to be a doctor." I would laugh and kiss her forehead, but deep inside, I wondered if such a dream was too big for us, too far away for a family that had given up so much already. And yet, as the years passed, that dream only grew stronger. She studied with a determination that sometimes scared me. She would spend hours with books spread across the table, her little fingers underlining sentences she barely understood but was determined to learn. There were nights when she would fall asleep with her head resting on open pages, and I would gently cover her with a blanket, my heart breaking and swelling at the same time. I knew the road to becoming a doctor was not just long, it was brutal. It demanded time, money, and sacrifices I wasn't sure we could afford. But every time I thought about telling her to slow down, to dream smaller, I couldn't bring myself to say it. How could I clip the wings of a child who was born to fly? There were moments when giving up seemed easier. When the tuition fees arrived and the numbers on the paper looked like mountains I couldn't climb. When I skipped meals to make sure she had everything she needed for her classes. When the lights almost got cut off, and I sat in the dark, crying quietly so she wouldn't hear me. But then, she would come running with her grades, with her achievements, with her radiant smile that told me every sacrifice was worth it. I had given up my career, yes, but in those moments, I felt I was still achieving something, through her. Her victories became mine, her struggles became mine, and her dream became the heartbeat that kept me going. The first day she wore her white coat, I couldn't stop crying. She looked at herself in the mirror, and I saw the same determination in her eyes that I once saw in mine. Except this time, it wasn't about me. It was about her. She was standing where I could have never imagined myself standing, on the path to becoming a doctor. I remembered every night of hunger, every tear I had hidden, every no I had whispered to myself so I could say yes to her. And in that moment, I knew I had never given up my dreams. I had only transformed them into something greater, her. And today, I stand here, telling you this story, with my heart overflowing. Because today, my daughter has graduated in medicine. Today, she walked across that stage, her diploma in hand, her name called out, and the applause filling the room. Today, the little girl who once pretended to heal her toys has become a real doctor. And as I watched her throw her cap into the air, tears blurred my vision, but joy lit up my soul. This was the reward life had kept waiting for me. This was the answer to every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every doubt I ever carried. I want you to understand something. Sometimes the world will make you believe that success is only measured by titles, careers, and bank accounts. But I am living proof that success can also be measured by love, by resilience, by the courage to choose family when no one else understands. My career never came back. The doors I once left behind never opened again. But I don't regret a single step. Because in choosing my daughter, I chose a future where my sacrifices turned into her victories. I chose to give her wings, and today, I watch her soar. And if you're listening to me right now, wondering if your sacrifices matter, let me tell you, they do. Even if nobody sees them, even if nobody applauds, even if you sometimes feel invisible. Every choice you make out of love plants a seed. And one day, that seed will bloom in ways you can't even imagine. One day, like me, you'll look back and realize that what you thought was the end of your dreams was actually the beginning of something greater. Because love has the power to turn endings into beginnings, losses into victories, and sacrifices into unforgettable legacies. When I saw her walk across that stage, wearing the cap and gown that symbolized years of relentless effort, I felt as if time itself had paused to honor her journey. The applause was loud, but inside me, the sound of my own heartbeat drowned out everything else. My daughter had made it. She had conquered every obstacle, turned every sacrifice into a stepping stone, and now she was living the dream that once seemed impossible. I realized then that success is not measured by how high we climb, but by how many storms we endure to keep moving forward. And she had endured them all. Her name was called, and as she shook hands with her professors, I remembered every small detail that had brought us here. The late nights studying by candlelight when the power was cut. The notebooks filled with scribbles and underlined words. The tears she tried to hide when things felt too heavy. Every struggle had led to this moment of triumph. As she raised her diploma, her eyes searched the crowd until they found mine. And in that instant, it wasn't just her victory, it was ours. The bond between us had carved this success into reality. After the ceremony, she ran to me, her arms wrapping tightly around my shoulders, her tears soaking into my dress. "We did it, Mama," she whispered. Not, "I did it," but, "we." That single word broke me open in the most beautiful way. Because she knew the truth, that behind every sleepless night she endured, there was a mother who stayed awake too. Behind every book she opened, there was a hand making sure she had the strength to keep going. It was never just her fight. It was our shared dream, and now, our shared success. People often ask me if I regret giving up my career, if I ever wonder what life would look like had I chosen differently. And my answer is simple, no. Because nothing could ever compare to the pride of watching my daughter take her oath as a doctor, promising to heal, to serve, to save lives. My name may never appear on a diploma, but through her, my sacrifices have found immortality. She carries not only her dream but also the echoes of my own unspoken hopes. And that makes this victory mine as much as hers. The beauty of this success is not just in her title or her profession, but in the journey it represents. It is proof that dreams can survive hardship, that resilience can overcome poverty, that love can rewrite destinies. When people look at her, they see a young doctor ready to serve the world. But when I look at her, I see a little girl who once wrapped her toys in bandages, a child who never stopped believing, and a woman who turned that belief into reality. To me, she is more than a doctor, she is a miracle. And as she begins her career, I see the ripple effect of our choices spreading far beyond our own lives. Every patient she heals, every family she comforts, every life she saves, it all carries a piece of our story. The sacrifices made in silence now echo in hospital rooms, in moments where she will hold someone's hand and give them hope. Our pain has been transformed into someone else's healing. That is the true power of love. It multiplies, it grows, it creates legacies bigger than we could ever imagine. Looking back, I realized that the reward was never just the graduation. The real reward was the transformation that happened along the way. The resilience we built, the courage we discovered, the strength we never thought we had, all of it became part of who we are today. Success is not just about reaching the finish line, but about becoming stronger through the race itself. My daughter's degree is proof, but the real victory lives in our hearts, where no certificate can measure it. Sometimes, I think about the little moments that carried us forward, the laughter in the midst of hardship, the whispered prayers when we had nothing left, the hugs that reminded us we were not alone. Those moments are the true treasures of this story. Because they remind me that success is not only about the grand finale, but also about the quiet victories along the way. Every tear we dried, every fear we overcame, every time we chose hope instead of despair, that was success too. Now, as I watch her wear her white coat and step into a hospital for the first time, I feel a peace I never thought I would know. I see in her the strength of every generation before us, the resilience of every mother who chose love over ambition, and the brilliance of a child who dared to dream. She is the living proof that sacrifice is never wasted, that love has the power to create greatness. And in that realization, I find myself more fulfilled than I could have ever been chasing my own dreams alone. This chapter of our journey has closed, but the story it tells will live forever. A story of sacrifice, of perseverance, of love that defied the odds. A story that proves success is not always about personal gain, but about giving enough for someone else to shine. My daughter is a doctor now, but to me, she will always be the little girl who looked at me with curious eyes and said she wanted to heal the world. And now, she is. That is the legacy of love. That is our success. There are moments in life when we are forced to make choices that seem to take something away from us, but in reality, they plant seeds for something greater. The story we just lived together teaches us that sacrifice is not a loss, it is an investment in love, in legacy, in the future of those we cherish. In a world that often tells us success is about climbing ladders, earning titles, and collecting achievements, it's easy to forget that true greatness is sometimes invisible to the world. It's the parent who works 2 jobs so their children can study, the friend who puts aside their own plans to support someone in pain, or the countless quiet acts of love that never make headlines but build foundations for generations to stand on. Each of us has moments where we are called to give more than we thought possible, and those choices, though difficult, carry within them the power to transform not only one life but many. When we look at our daily struggles, we often fail to see their hidden meaning. The sleepless nights, the silent tears, the doubts we bury in our hearts, they all feel overwhelming when we are in the middle of them. But just like in this story, what looks like sacrifice today often becomes the source of tomorrow's joy. Think about the times you've chosen patience when you wanted to give up, kindness when you wanted to turn away, or courage when fear told you to stop. Those are the moments that shape who we become. Our everyday decisions, though small and unnoticed by the world, carry the same weight as the choices made in this story. They can create futures, they can change destinies, and they can give hope where there once was none. It's important to remember that success does not always come wrapped in recognition or applause. Sometimes, it comes in the form of someone else's victory, built on the foundation of your sacrifices. A mother watching her child graduate, a teacher seeing their student succeed, a mentor witnessing someone they once guided achieve greatness, these are victories that belong to both. In our own lives, we may not always see immediate results from the love and effort we pour into others. But life has a way of returning that love, often multiplied, in ways we could never have planned. The story of a daughter becoming a doctor is not just about her, it's about every silent moment of strength that her mother carried for years. And so it is with us. What we give in silence today may echo loudly in someone else's tomorrow. Every day, we are faced with a choice, to live only for ourselves, or to live in a way that lifts others higher. The beauty of love is that when we choose to support others, we are never truly left behind. Instead, we become part of something bigger than ourselves. The success of those we love becomes our success too, because it carries within it our fingerprints, our sacrifices, our silent prayers. And when the weight of life feels too heavy, this truth can give us strength. No act of love is ever wasted. Whether in family, friendships, or even strangers we choose to help, every time we give, we plant seeds that will bloom in ways we may never see, but they will bloom nonetheless. So, if you are listening to this, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Maybe you are in the middle of your own sacrifices right now, and it feels like nobody notices, like nobody cares. But believe me when I say this, your love matters. Your strength matters. The quiet battles you fight will one day become victories, perhaps not in your name, but in the lives of those you've touched. And that is the greatest kind of success anyone could ask for. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. If this touched your heart, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so we can continue sharing stories that inspire and heal. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear your reflections. And if you know someone who needs this reminder, share this video with them. Together, we can spread hope, love, and the belief that every sacrifice has the power to change lives.